50 Cent was reportedly robbed and beaten after leaking a fresh piece of his upcoming documentary. And honestly, that headline alone sounds like absolute madness. But the real twist isn't even the attack. It's the mystery of who could be behind something this bold. Early whispers suggest a group showed up at his home, allegedly attempting to kidnap or pressure him into pulling the project. And here's where things get even messier. Some claims suggest they were sent and paid by other rappers who clearly have something to hide. This has the entire industry shaken, raising serious questions about what exactly these artists are so desperate to keep buried, and just how explosive 50 Cent's documentary might be. In this video, we're breaking down the leaked clips, revealing supposed footage from the incident, and uncovering what really went down that night. And if you know anything about 50 Cent, you already understand, this is not a man who avoids chaos. He's lived on both sides of it for over 2 decades. He doesn't run from problems. He runs straight into them. So when headlines scream that 50 Cent got robbed and beaten, people don't hesitate to believe it because his history makes it sound almost routine. Let's rewind for a second. Back in 2000, Daryl Baum was allegedly the man who shot 50 Cent 9 times. Somehow, none of those bullets hit a vital organ, and after serious medical treatment, he survived. That moment became one of the most iconic stories in hip-hop, turning him into a legend before he even fully broke into the mainstream. The shooting was reportedly tied to his beef with Supreme Griff, a well-known figure from Queens. At the time, it was claimed that Supreme placed a bounty on 50 Cent's life. But 50 didn't just survive. He bounced back and turned that trauma into power. He later told his story in his 2005 biopic, Get Rich or Die Trying. But the chaos around him didn't end there. In 2014, during the Hot 97 Summer Jam concert, 50 Cent and G-Unit were accused of having MC Slow of Slowbucks beaten and robbed in front of a massive crowd. Reports claim members of Slowbucks were attacked and had their chains snatched, with footage showing a man being kicked and punched on the ground. The supposed reason? The Slowbucks crew had taken a photo with 50's rivals and his estranged son Marquise, then posted it online. At the time, 50 responded by saying posting that picture was a bad idea. Then in 2015, a jeweler named Robert Marin alleged he was targeted by 50's crew. According to him, he was invited out, then later attacked, pistol whipped, and robbed of jewelry worth $250,000. Marin, who owned LAX Jewelry Company, claimed the entire situation turned into a criminal investigation, though 50 Cent's team denied everything and authorities ultimately said he was not a suspect. He said he went to Las Vegas to sell 50 Cent a watch and chain worth $250,000, which already sounds like the setup to something messy. According to Marin, after partying at a club until early Saturday morning, 50's crew casually invited him to check out Floyd Mayweather's gym. Sounds normal, right? Well, that's where things allegedly took a sharp turn. Marin claims that once he arrived, 2 members of the rapper's crew pistol whipped him, snatched the jewelry, and disappeared like it was all part of the plan. Of course, 50 Cent's lawyer immediately shut everything down, calling the accusations completely baseless and straight up false. Authorities eventually backed that up, stating that 50 Cent was not even considered a suspect in the investigation. But the chaos didn't stop there. Fast forward to 2024, and somehow 50 was robbed again, this time not in the streets, but online. He claimed hackers hit his account and walked away with a shocking $300 million in crypto in just 30 minutes. His social media and website were taken over, making it look like he was promoting a cryptocurrency called G-Unit Coin without even knowing it. 50 quickly jumped on Instagram to clear things up, saying his account were hacked and he had zero connection to that crypto. He also mentioned that Twitter acted fast to lock everything down. Later, authorities clarified that the hackers didn't actually get $300 million, but closer to $3 million once everything was converted. Still a huge hit, but not quite the number that first shocked everyone. So when you step back and look at the pattern, it's actually wild. This is a man who's been shot, linked to public beatdowns, dragged into robbery claims, and even hacked for millions. So when headlines say 50 Cent got robbed and beaten, people don't hesitate. They click instantly, because in his world, none of it sounds far-fetched. But here's where things get interesting. To really understand what's happening now in 2026, you have to look at what 50 Cent has become. He's not just a rapper anymore. He's evolved into a full-blown television mogul. He's behind some of the most talked-about content on TV, and recently, he's been going all in on documentaries. In December 2025, he dropped his biggest project yet, a documentary series titled Sean Combs, The Reckoning. The series dives into the sexual misconduct allegations surrounding Sean Diddy Combs, and it was directed by Alexandria Stapleton. It hit Netflix on December 2nd and quickly grabbed massive attention. 50 even spoke about it, saying he's been committed to telling real stories through unit film and television, and appreciated those who trusted him enough to share their experiences. And clearly it paid off, because the documentary turned into a major success. In just 6 days after its release, the series pulled in a massive 21.8 million views, instantly becoming the second most watched Netflix title for that week, sitting right behind Volume 1 of the 5th season of Stranger Things. Critics didn't hold back either, giving it strong praise, with 90% of 10 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes landing positive, describing it as detailed and controlled rather than over-the-top sensational. But of course, with that level of attention came a wave of reactions. People immediately started questioning how 50 Cent managed to get his hands on certain footage. When NBC News correspondent Chloe Maylaz pressed him about the hotel room clips featured in the documentary, Jackson casually brushed it off, saying most journalists don't reveal their sources anyway. And just like that, it became clear this wasn't just another documentary. It was a full-blown moment. Actually, scratch that, it was a blueprint. It proved that 50 Cent could take personal drama, real-life controversy, and turn it into content that pulls in tens of millions of views without breaking a sweat. And obviously, he didn't stop there. In January 2026, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson kicked off the year by teaming up with A&E for a true crime series titled Gang Wars. He confirmed it himself on Instagram, teasing fans with a promise that something big was on the way. Deadline described the project as a raw, unfiltered dive into some of America's most infamous gang rivalries, packed with rare access and stories nobody had heard before. Then came February 2026, and 50 was already stirring things up again, teasing yet another Netflix documentary, this time after Jay-Z was mentioned in newly released Jeffrey Epstein-related files from the Department of Justice. Now, before things get twisted, it's important to understand that Jay-Z, along with Pusha T and Harvey Weinstein, were not named in confirmed records or verified reports. Their names appeared in an unverified tip submitted to the FBI, which doesn't mean investigation or guilt. But let's be honest, 50 Cent saw the headline and immediately recognized the opportunity. And that right there sums up exactly who he is in 2026. He's basically a walking documentary machine. Every feud, every controversy, every headline. He doesn't just watch it unfold. He turns it into content. And this is where we finally get to the real story. The part that is everyone running with a narrative that he got robbed and beaten. The entire situation revolves around the current beef between 50 Cent and T.I. And ironically, it all started from something that was supposed to be a celebration, not a war. The spark that set everything off was a resumed battle that never even happened. T.I. opened up about on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, hosted by Gilly the Kid and Wallow, explaining how things completely fell apart. According to T.I., he and 50 Cent were actually in talks to go head-to-head in a resumed battle, a side-by-side showcase of their catalogs. He said both of them were on the same page, excited about the idea and ready to celebrate their music. But then, out of nowhere, 50 Cent pulled back without any clear explanation. T.I. broke it down during the interview, saying he asked 50 what he thought about the idea, and 50 seemed interested and agreed. T.I. then said he would announce it first, and 50 just needed a follow-up so they could lock it in. Everything sounded smooth, until it wasn't. According to T.I., the moment he stepped out publicly with it, 50 Cent suddenly acted like he had no clue what was going on. And that public embarrassment, that's what pushed T.I. over the edge. Instead of brushing it off or handling it quietly, he took it straight to the studio. T.I. didn't just respond. He went all in, dropping 4 diss tracks titled War, The Right One, Lessons, and What Bully, making it very clear he wasn't here to play. And just when you thought it couldn't get Messier, his sons, King Harris and Domani Harris, decided to jump into the chaos too. Now, let's be clear, this tension between 50 Cent and T.I. isn't new. It actually goes all the way back to 2006, when both of them were at their peak, quietly throwing shots and showing signs that they never really liked each other. Back then, 50 was running things with G-Unit, while T.I. proudly held the title of the self-proclaimed King of the South. The rivalry simmered for years through subtle jabs and competitive energy, but in 2026, it finally exploded. What started as a simple versus idea turned into one of the biggest rap beefs of the year. Diss tracks, family involvement, and non-stop social media drama. It escalated fast, and instead of firing back with music, 50 Cent did what he does best. He trolled relentlessly. He flooded social media with memes, jokes, and targeted posts aimed directly at T.I. and his family, especially his wife, Tamika "Tiny" Harris, and their son, King Harris. At one point, 50 even posted an unflattering photo of Tiny, throwing a caption telling T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth, which many saw as straight-up disrespect. When T.I. addressed everything in an interview with TMZ, he stayed surprisingly calm, brushing it off as old news and saying he wasn't trying to attack, only defend himself. Meanwhile, his retirement album Kill the King was gaining serious attention, with Let Him Know quickly becoming one of the standout hits of 2026, topping urban radio and multiple charts. Even DJ academics started comparing this feud to the legendary Drake versus Kendrick Lamar rivalry, locking it in as one of the most talked about clashes of the year. But just when things were already intense, the situation crossed a line, because that's when the kids got involved. This is exactly where the whole robbed and beaten narrative finally starts making sense. Because no, 50 Cent wasn't physically attacked like the headline wants you to believe, but what happened to him on wax, that was a different kind of damage. For the first time, he wasn't just facing one opponent. He was getting hit from an entire family. T.I.'s son stepped in and turned this into something way more personal. Two of Tip's kids dropped diss tracks aimed directly at 50, and they didn't hold back. Domani kicked things off with a track called Ms. Jackson, opening it with a sample from Outkast's classic hit, but then taking a turn that shocked everyone. Instead of just dissing 50, he wrote lyrics directed at 50's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who tragically died in a fire when 50 was only 8 years old. And if that wasn't enough, King Harris came through with his own song and video, wearing a t-shirt printed with the image of 50's mother. Let that sink in for a second. Sabrina Jackson's death is one of the most painful and defining moments in 50 Cent's life, and that's exactly what they chose to target. After 50 posted disrespectful images of Tiny Harris, the Harris family responded with something far more personal. King Harris doubled down, not just with visuals but with multiple tracks, making sure the message hit hard. As the feud kept escalating, both Domani and King continued dropping more diss records. On March 6, King released another track titled Drop Top, making it clear he wasn't backing down. He even took things to Instagram, posting captions that added more fuel to the fire. And it didn't stop at music. He also brought in footage of his father alongside 50's ex, Daphne Joy, dragging in past allegations she made against him. Domani followed up with his own track, referencing the same allegations and adding more layers to the attack. Then came another serious move. King Harris released paperwork accusing 50 Cent of snitching on Jimmy Henchman. And in hip-hop culture, that kind of accusation isn't just disrespect. It's one of the most damaging things you can throw at someone's reputation. King Harris wasn't just throwing casual shots at 50 Cent. He was clearly aiming to tear down his entire reputation piece by piece. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any messier, Rick Ross decided to jump right in. Not exactly a fan of 50 himself, Ross slid into the comments and added fuel to the fire, basically co-signing everything King Harris was throwing out there and backing the attacks without hesitation. Meanwhile, through all this chaos, 50 doesn't seem even slightly bothered by the music coming at him. Instead of clapping back with bars, he's been busy on Instagram, flexing his success in the television world like none of this even matters. Up to this point, he hasn't dropped a single response track. His entire strategy has been social media, memes, jokes, and calculated posts aimed directly at T.I. and his family. T.I. himself addressed the situation during an interview, making it clear he didn't need any beef with 50 to promote his hit single Let Him Know. And when asked about his sons King and Domani getting involved, he admitted he didn't take any real satisfaction from it. But regardless of how he feels, the damage is already out there, Because the whole robbed and beaten narrative, it has nothing to do with a physical attack. This is about what's happening to 50 Cent culturally. He's dealing with 4 diss tracks from T.I., multiple records from King Harris and Domani, and even Rick Ross back into pressure. On top of that, people are dragging up his late mother, revisiting allegations involving his ex, and throwing around claims of snitching. And through all of it, 50 has responded with a single bar. In the eyes of many hip-hop fans, that silence looks like a loss. Like he's being stripped of credibility as a rapper and getting beaten in the court of public opinion by an entire family at once. But here's where everything flips. Because 50 Cent didn't answer with music. He answered with something far more dangerous. On March 5th, 2026, instead of dropping a diss track or a freestyle, he made what many see as his real move, a documentary threat. On Thursday, March 5th, 50 Cent decided to pour gasoline on the rumors with an Instagram post he conveniently deleted right after. The post featured a screenshot of a headline claiming he was developing a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary, and fans immediately took that as a not-so-subtle confirmation that something serious might be in motion. But it was the caption that really set everything off. 50 wrote something that had the internet spiraling, basically reminding everyone how quiet he got before the whole Diddy situation, then adding a line that sounded less like a joke and more like a warning. He implied that someone thought he wasn't coming, hinted that this might ruin a promo tour, and even mentioned that questions about multiple assault allegations could start coming up, suggesting they might want to get a crisis PR team ready. And considering what he just pulled off with his Netflix documentary, pulling over 21 million views in its first week, this didn't feel like empty talk. It felt calculated. The rumored project is set to focus on allegations that have followed T.I. and Tiny for years. Back in January 2021, Atlanta entrepreneur Sabrina Peterson publicly accused T.I. of putting a gun to her head, and that claim opened the floodgates. After that, multiple women came forward with stories alleging a pattern where women were invited into private settings, given drinks that were possibly tampered with, and then assaulted. Despite the volume of accusations, the legal outcomes largely worked in favor of the Harris family. Investigations were launched in places like Los Angeles and Las Vegas, but no charges were ever officially filed, mainly because the statute of limitations had already expired. The documentary rumors themselves originally came from blogger Tasha K, who claimed she had sources connected to 50's team saying the project was in development. Now, there's no official confirmation from either side, and it's worth noting that Tasha K's track record isn't exactly spotless. She previously lost a defamation case to Cardi B. But honestly, at this point, whether the documentary actually exists almost doesn't even matter. 50 Cent clearly understands something most people are still trying to catch up to in today's viral media world. The threat of an exposing documentary can hit way harder than the documentary itself. And by casually dropping, then deleting that Instagram post, he managed to do exactly that. He pushed T.I. straight onto the defensive, dragged old controversies right back into the spotlight, and took control of the entire hip-hop conversation without spending a single dollar on actual production. And just in case that wasn't enough, 50 kept it going. In another comment, he teased new music today, which could easily be trolling, but also might hint at a possible response to T.I. and his son's diss tracks. As of March 2026, there's still no confirmed production, no network backing, and no real footage proving that a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary even exists. But that's exactly the strategy. He dropped the idea, deleted the evidence, and left everyone with a question mark. Now, every interview T.I. does, every press appearance, every podcast, someone is going to bring those allegations up, and whether this is all just trolling or not, the fact remains that these are serious words coming from someone who just proved he can turn controversy into massive content. So let's bring everything full circle. Did 50 Cent actually get robbed and beaten in 2026? Physically, no. There's no verified report of any real attack tied to his documentaries or current beefs. But culturally, that's a different story. T.I. dropped 4 diss tracks aimed at him. King Harris released multiple songs dragging his late mother into it. Domani broke down his personal life on record. Rick Ross backed the attacks publicly. And on top of that, accusations, past relationships, and alleged paperwork all started resurfacing. And through all of this, The same man who built his name on destroying opponents with music stayed completely silent on the mic. No diss track, no freestyle, nothing. Instead, he leaned into something far more dangerous: his ability to turn real-life controversy into a full-scale Netflix moment. And with the threat of a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary hanging in the air, the real question isn't whether 50 Cent got robbed and beaten. The real question now isn't whether T.I. and his family responded. It's whether they just made the biggest mistake of their careers by giving 50 Cent a reason to press record. Because while there's no official rap battle happening right now, the tension between these two hasn't cooled down for a second. And if 50 is actually working on a surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary, this entire feud could shift from Instagram posts and diss tracks straight onto the screen. And let's be honest, with 50 Cent's track record, from his Netflix success to his A&E Gang Wars series, and even those Epstein-related teases, nobody should be shocked if he actually follows through. Because if there's one thing he's proven again and again, it's this: he doesn't fight on your terms. He fights where you have no defense. T.I. wanted a rap battle, but 50 Cent answered with the threat of a documentary. The Harris family dropped diss tracks, and 50 fired back by putting headlines about serious allegations back into the spotlight. That's the real war. And right now, nobody can clearly say who's winning. But one thing is certain: everyone is watching. And for 50 Cent, that's exactly how he likes it.